we are basically, sorry. Hey, how's it going? Good, good. We're going to be covering dashboards today, functionality dashboards, how to set them up, best practices, if you will, kind of how we would recommend using them for your environment, for your clients, gauging network performance, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be kind of high level. Let's just go ahead and get started here, and if anybody has any questions along the way, please feel free to ask, okay? So here's our studio. One thing I do want to mention very quickly is make sure that you guys are running the latest build of Packettrap. There's always bug fixes and features and things that we've released, and I've come across a few people running some older builds. So if you can, make sure you're on the latest build, which is this one right here, 21278, and that you're actually on the new database schema as well, which you can just check by going to administration and making sure that there is no switch DB icon in your admin area. That means that you are running the latest build and on the latest database schema. So just very quickly wanted to point that out. So dashboards. Dashboards are user specific. That's one important aspect that I do want to point out. So for instance, I'm logged in with the administrator account here. If I log in with another account that I've created in here, I will not see the same dashboards. Right now, there is no way to share dashboards amongst users. We've had that request before, and I know that it's a feature that we're currently working on to see if we can share gadgets among accounts. But as it stands now, it is user specific. So if you do have, say, a support team, for instance, you might want to create a support account for multiple people to log into, and that way they can all see the same gadgets, if you will. So just wanted to point that out quickly. So here's our gadgets, or dashboard here, and some default ones that we've set up. Let me go ahead and just move this here out of the way a little bit. And top 10 and alerts and logs will be by default in the studio as soon as you install. And alerts and logs basically shows you current alerts in progress or in process, ones that have actually triggered and are still in alert state. And this is kind of your historical alerting area here, so you can obviously sort by date, type, IP address, site, host name to try to isolate specific issues with a certain device or common site, if you will. So these are the two that will be there by default. So the dashboard in a nutshell is basically just displays a high-level overview of network performance, fault management, device availability across all your sites and networks. So it's able to provide you critical information in one kind of snippet without having to double-click on a device to see what the CPU history is, or say memory or net flow information. So it's very customizable. So what's going to work for one MSP may not work for another. So this is really where you're going to kind of need to know what's important for your business, for your customers, what they need to know, what's business critical information. And the dashboard is a great way to view the information very quickly in one knock view. So we've got a few here set up that I'll just quickly point out, and then we'll set up a couple and kind of go through it together. So bear with me here. So we've got a disk check here. Obviously, it's showing 20 devices for disk volume information, how much is used, what percentage, and all that. So if disk volumes is absolutely critical for you guys to see, this may be a good gadget to add, or a tab, if you will. Network interface chart is another real important one. This would work directly well with a netflow module in that you'd be able to very easily see spikes in data when they occur on the network and remediate the situation by going into a device that's got the netflow installed on it already or enabled, and you'd be able to hopefully pinpoint what traffic generated that spike at that time of day. So that's a real kind of important one here that I just wanted to point out here that we have set up. We used to have, I will let you know, the ability to customize the gadgets here by moving them, and for some reason we've lost that within this latest build, which the development team's aware of, but I just wanted to point that out where we'd be able to move these obviously a little bit to the left to make this kind of a little bit more seamless to use for both gadgets, but for some reason that seems to have ceased at this point here. So you can move them by moving the title bar left or right, and that will navigate them, but in terms of moving the individual gadgets and resizing them, that is not there at the moment, but we are aware of it. Okay, so just wanted to point that out in case anybody had a question about that. So the network interface chart's another real powerful one that I highly recommend people set up, especially if you have Netflow, because it's going to really give you a real-time chart into what's going on in the network last day, last month, last week, and so forth. Login sessions could be obviously letting you know who logged into the MSP platform over a certain period of time. Maybe you want to know, which coworkers were doing, what for how long, that kind of information. The open source web viewer is basically what it's telling us here. It's just an open source viewer for maybe certain sites. Here we've got our help page here. So if you basically wanted to take a look and see it, how to configure SMTP settings or whatever it may be, you could easily be able to see it here, as well as anything else that you'd want to take a look at. So, and then we also obviously have software inventory here. As soon as it loads up here, showing us multiple targets, what's installed on there at the moment, current logged on user if applicable, and installed applications. So that's kind of a high level of what we currently have here in the system. You can do gadgets for pretty much anything that we collect data on. There's a few of these that will not show up in the web view. So, for instance, mspdemo.packettrap.com, I did want to let you know that the dashboard is available for your customers to view via the web. So if I go back here and create a new tab, and I'm going to actually go here, load the URL, log in, and the same account, admin account, I should be able to see most of these dashboard gadgets available in the web view. Now, this is a great way for your customers to see real-time data within their network. What you want to do, though, is create an account for your customer in the studio and then log in with that account, therefore customizing the dashboard accordingly for that one account so that when they log in, they're going to see the exact same stuff. So that's one way that some MSPs have given their customers access into their network. That's kind of a read-only way where they can't manipulate any devices. They won't be able to delete anything, but at least they can see, top 10 devices, CPU, memory, and so forth, whatever they may want to see. So it's very customizable. Just want to go over that very quickly here. Some of the modules that we have in the Packettrap Studio, for instance here, which we'll go through here in a quick second, will not be viewable in the web studio. And some of those will be the Netflow gadgets, per se. The top 10 domains you'll be able to see via the web studio, but the actual functional Netflow gadget where you double-click on it and you can actually drill down to see certain IPs, that needs to be done via the studio. So there will be a little breakdown, I guess, between some of those gadgets in the studio and some via the web studio that you will not see. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
The question is there a dashboard view that will just show site up-down status?
Will just show site up-down status. That's a little tricky in that, we determine if a site is up. If you have one polling agent, obviously, that's polling, say, multiple other devices. If that agent goes down, that's pretty much the alert that I would use to let you know if the site is down. You could be running maybe a ping gadget, which we'll take a look and see if we can actually configure that and see if we can get you that information in a quick second here. Okay. So these are the ones that we have currently configured. Let's just go in here, and also you have a full screen mode, which is kind of nice. So it basically will full screen just the dashboard, still allowing you, some kind of a view into the back end as well. So if you wanted just to kind of blow that up, you'd be able to do that. And obviously the refresh rate as well over here on the right-hand side. But let's go ahead and create a few. And one way that I can recommend breaking this down would either be between sites, so creating these tabs as sites, or specific groups. So maybe a group of servers you want only. So we'll go into and adding a tab, and we'll just call it Site 1, for instance. Or actually, we'll do Netflow. We'll do Netflow because that's kind of one that a lot of people are interested in. Then we're going to add a gadget. And this is the list of all the available gadgets that we currently have by default, okay? Obviously, you can take a look at these at your own discretion, but top 10 domains, trap information, network interface charts, which I showed you earlier. This is basically the list of everything that we can currently display within the dashboard. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and go to the Netflow information here. And we'll go ahead and do that. Top traffic. I'm going to select my target. Got it set up as a group there as traffic. And this is just basically showing me top applications that are on the network here talking. So SNMP, obviously, because we use that quite a bit, HTTPS, HTTP, and so forth. So that's one. And then we can actually add multiple gadgets within each tab. So that's a great way to break it down. So I'm going to go ahead and add another gadget and go down and do maybe top traffic domains, maybe multi, and select the same target. And now it's going to give me a list of the top domains that we currently have within the network itself. And let's see if we can add a couple more here that will show us some information. Here's the full module that I was referring to earlier. So this should give us a little bit more information. Basically, it will look like the same view if you're in the devices view. And bear with me for a quick. I'm looking to see if I have my groups here, which I don't see. So give me one sec. Let me find out what IP address that is, and I should be able to quickly find it under traffic. 194.9. So we'll go back to the dashboard here quickly. Add gadgets. Under traffic flow. Okay, there we go. And now you can see here it gives us kind of a nice graph of what's going on, who's doing what, where you can select this hour, past hour, top 10 conversations, choosing maybe top 20. So this is really helpful in the sense that it's going to give you a nice knock view of maybe just traffic flow for your customers. That's all you get to see here. And then maybe you want to actually create another tab and call it CPU, for instance, or CPU MAM, or whatever it is that you'd like to do. Again, it's very customizable. And then I'm going to add maybe top average CPU usage. Maybe that's a good one that I'd like to see. Give it a name there, ask for a scope, and then a target, and I can do this for all devices, maybe just the San Francisco office. And there you go. So that's one way to break it down. Another way that you could actually try to do this is breaking it down into different sites. So maybe you want to have a tab instead of NetFlow as opposed to, say, Customer A. And Customer A will have not only a NetFlow module, but a CPU module, maybe a top 10 memory, as well as some other information here. So we'll go through a couple more gadgets and see, try to point out a couple other helpful things there. And I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions as I'm kind of walking through here if anybody does. So, Elizabeth?
No, I don't have any. Does anyone have any questions on the phone?
Hey, Elizabeth, this is James.
Hey, Jim.
Hi, Jim.
How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I had heard at one point in time that we were going to do, that you guys are going to have a way that we can build a tab and then share that across multiple places. Is that in place or is that still in doubt?
Sharing a tab within multiple places, you mean amongst users, or I'm not sure what the...
Yeah, sorry for not being clear. Yeah, across users, so I could create a dashboard and then just share it to all my desks.
Yeah, that functionality isn't in there yet, but I know that we're working on it because we've had that request multiple times of sharing dashboards amongst user accounts. So now it is user specific.
Okay.
It is user specific, but that's a good question, James. Thanks. So we'll go back here, CPU, obviously. So I guess in a nutshell, it really depends on how you want to configure the dashboard to work for you. It really would save you quite a bit of time if you set it up accordingly to make sure that maybe you want, it's a great way to see information that we already provide and one kind of knock to you again. So That's pretty much the best way that I can explain the gadgets here. And let's see here. Does anybody else have any other questions at all along the way? Here's some other options we have in configuring your columns. You know, if you want to do 4 or whatever it may be, so you can customize it some way. Again, the view isn't the best because we've lost that resizing capability, but I know that that will be fixed very soon because they're working on it. So. And I guess at this point, I mean, actually, let's go into the custom gadgets, I should say now. Okay, so those are basically some of the default ones that we can do. And if you have any questions about what we can display, best advice is to click on the All Gadgets and take a look at the gadgets here. This is basically our running list of what we can currently do by default, okay? Now, for instance, if I wanted a gadget that was custom, something that we don't do out of the box, but we can still offer, we want to go to the Gadget Manager, which takes us here, and then we basically would create something new. So I'm going to click on Add, and we'll walk through it together. And it's called Gadget Test. Description here, and I don't know, we'll group by multiple devices in the list, okay? We'll just say it's going to be for multiple systems. And these are the available fields that we currently have and how they're going to be displayed. And we give you kind of a little preview over here of what's going to show and how. So obviously, say if I wanted physical memory used, you know, if I wanted that up a little bit, I could actually, you know, bump that up to there, move the site name down a little bit here. So it really just depends on how you want to view the report or the gadget, if you will. And then also, anything else that you'd like to add in here. So there's a lot of detailed info here that we cannot cover every single field here, but I'll just, you know, expand and show you a couple here. CPU information about percentage, max, medium, minimum, device information, what the GUID is, host name info, IP address info, model name if applicable. So just a lot of different stuff on here that, you know, obviously is very customizable. So if there's anything that we currently don't offer in our dashboards by default, and you'd like to create a custom gadget, this is where you're going to go, and these are the options that we currently have. If you don't see an option in here, chances are we just don't have it at the moment, and you can call us and let us know, and we'll either try to submit a feature request for you or direct you where you can go to do that. So, you know, maybe we want to do total memory and maybe total free memory. I'm just going to pick a couple here. Interface traffic percentage, traffic received, and we'll port these over. All right. And obviously, please keep in mind that some of these fields will not populate unless we are actually collecting data for these systems, which I haven't obviously double-checked, but I'm just going through the actual process with you guys. So let's assume that this is the way that we want it. We want it displayed in this order. That looks great. Click Next. Here's the, you know, the way that they're going to be displayed. Again, I can change them accordingly if I'd like. And then click Next again. Finish. Okay, and now I should see that test, or that gadget test that I created in there. And then what we want to do is close this. Okay, we'll just pick CPU, for instance, add gadget, custom, gadget test. And now it's going to ask us to select a target that we want, obviously. So, for instance, let's just pick the San Francisco office since we've been using that. And then finish. And then that's going to give us all that information that we just requested in this gadget, provided we are capturing that data. So, for instance, I can't create an SMP trap gadget without making sure that I'm collecting trap information first. So, rule of thumb is before you create your gadgets, please make sure that you are collecting data for the device and that the specific data that you're wanting to display is actually succeeding within the monitoring status, which is pretty easy to tell by going to Settings, Verify Monitoring Status, And if I wanted to collect, say, for instance, IP information or memory, it's succeeding here. But if I wanted Cisco Complete Backup or Cisco Wireless, I know that it's not working now, so I really need to take care of these monitoring issues first before I create the gadget accordingly. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about gadgets at all, or if not about gadgets or the dashboard, perhaps anything else that I kind of like to try to stick on dashboards, but if nobody has any specific questions on dashboards, or it's pretty straightforward, and we're okay with that, then I'd be more than happy to open it up for other questions that you guys may have about the product. Okay, I guess that's assuming that most people have a pretty good grasp. So again, I just wanted to reemphasize in case anybody joined late that we just released not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, and this is the latest build that we're on now. So please make sure that you are running the latest build. There's been a lot of bug fixes and things that we've done, and database who works in the back end for this latest build. So it's real important that you guys are running 6.1.21278, and also have the latest database schema, which you can just double check by going to the administration section and making sure that you do not see a switch DB option in here. If you do, run through it. It's pretty seamless. It just shouldn't take too long, and it'll go ahead and convert it over to the new DB schema, and you should be done. So that's pretty important that we're running that. So I just wanted to point that out. If nobody has any questions, I'm trying to think of some other ways to utilize the dashboards. I did go over the netflow information, so I really think that setting up the network interface charts are great in correlation with netflow. For instance, I can look at my chart and go, okay, something happened at, in between Thursday and Friday, maybe at around 10:30 a.m. I can see that, it received a lot of data here at this point, or maybe it sent a lot at some point. Now I want to know what happened in between 10:30 and 10:45, somewhere around maybe 10:31 or 10:32. So I could very easily go, okay, I know which device is set up for traffic because I have it here in my group. If I double click on the device and go to network traffic flow and go to maybe yesterday and show maybe top 20 devices or domains, or I could actually do, let's see, scroll down just a little bit. Conversations, for instance, and I could do a trend chart. I should be able to see specific information, what this user did with that specific application throughout the course of the day. Domains is another great one. For instance, let's choose, we'll choose top 50 domains. And let's see here, we'll do out packets, deploy, for instance. So if this is a domain that I was interested in and I wasn't quite sure if this was responsible, I could double click on it, and now it'll show me every single IP address associated with that one domain over that period of time. And clicking on the trend chart should show me spikes in the data and what happened with what IP over what period of time. So it's really helpful. It should be able to hopefully help you identify network clogs, network issues, performance-related data with people that are doing things on the internet, that type of stuff. So that's one real powerful way to use the dashboard accordingly. Also to get a real-time running view of your devices. So the top 10 is a really good one. This is by default that we have there, but you can modify this, tweak it accordingly to show you the top maybe devices that are memory usage, CPU usage, maybe the top latency. Maybe there's some network problems going on between your region and your router, and there's a lot of ping latency, so that would let you know right away that there's maybe a network issue going on. Volume information is here, so again, this is one way to set it up, but it's very customizable, so it really depends on how you guys really want to view the data. Okay?
Question for you. Could you go through maybe even just a few more thorough looks into some of the possible configurations for the dashboard and the different columns and stuff? You touched on it pretty quickly, but maybe in layout options and features like that. Would you mind just covering that a little more?
Layout in terms of the look and feel, like aesthetic, or what you can populate within a dashboard?
Well, we understand how to add the gadgets and the capabilities there and how we want to customize.
Okay.
We just don't know the layout side of things, and I noticed that there was a few different things you had going there, but you went pretty quickly.
Okay, well, the layout, again, is really how you guys want it to look. So one way that I can recommend it, this is just one aspect, is setting it up on a client site basis. So, for instance, adding, instead of, creating these tabs as customer site, so, customer A, for instance. And everything within customer A, you can have obviously just part of that one customer. So maybe you want top 10 CPU, top 10 memory, and net flow information for customer A, but you only select devices in this network, right? And that would only show you, obviously, information for customer A and B and so forth if you created those different tabs. Another way that you could actually break it down would be to do it on a device level. Maybe you want to have a tab that's just called servers, and in this tab, you actually create a gadget that would show you servers across multiple customers, maybe not just one. Maybe you want to just monitor all servers across the board in one view. This is another way to do it. So, if I wanted to, say, add a gadget now with servers, and I go here and maybe I want to know about, maybe a CPU gauge or CPU chart, see what's going on here. Okay, so I'll do a chart, and it's going to ask me to select last day, maybe last week. That's kind of important. And I'll go through here, and obviously picking a site if I wanted to. I'll choose San Francisco office, and then it's going to ask me for a specific site. You can also, should be able to break this down like as well, but we'll just go ahead and select, I don't know, ProSearch here, .9 on a specific device here. So they'll show me the CPU chart. So maybe you want to do it on their core edge device, maybe their router or their switch. That's probably important. That way you can see real-time latency and CPU information and memory maybe on their Sonic wall, their Cisco ASA device or whatever it is. So that, in my opinion, would be an important one to monitor, as well as maybe their servers and desktops. So again, the whole point of the dashboard is customizability. So this is, depending on what you guys need, I'd recommend configuring it in that manner. So maybe you guys don't need to worry about networking equipment. I don't know. And you only need to worry about servers and desktops. Then you only want to set up tabs or gadgets accordingly with those servers and desktops. I guess, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hey Mario, this is James. I got a quick question on what you were just doing there.
Yeah.
You were talking about sort of selecting groups, and I know we create the different global policies and that kind of stuff. Is there a way to build a gadget that's only going to look at, say, everything in a server policy?
Yes.
Because we like to look at them grouping like that. I don't want to have to go manually select 50 different servers.
Oh, no.
Policy.
Good question, James. Some of the gadgets do allow you to select a group. Some do not. If the option is there, obviously, then it's going to give you the option to select a group, as I did before, where I got to select traffic, right? I can just put all of my traffic devices in a group logically and say, I want you to show me flows just for this whole group of devices. So, for instance, if I go into Add Gadget and say I want to do a, I don't know, we'll choose Netbook because that's a good example. So, top traffic, maybe top traffic endpoints. Okay, we'll choose that. We'll do top traffic endpoints. Give it a quick second here. And selecting a target. Now, if I scroll down here, you see that if I go in the San Francisco office, there's no group selected here. I can only choose by device right here, right? There's no, I can't select the whole policy or whatnot, or multiple devices here. So in this sense here, I'd have to select one, right? Because it's telling us that it's a one device gadget. But if I go back to the gadget and go back and choose, say, top traffic domains, or let's see your domains. You see here it's giving us an option to select the groups. So I guess, we can go through each one of these gadgets and obviously check, but if the option here is selected for the grouping, then yes, obviously you can logically group those devices so that you can just select it once in that one gadget. So if I wanted to select, for instance, traffic here, but I could have more than one device in this traffic group, obviously. I'll just click on add and finish, and it would show me basically the top traffic domains across those multiple devices, not just for the one. So I guess the answer to your question is yes, you can do it, but only some of the gadgets will allow you to select a group like that. If it does not, then it's going to be a per device gadget. Did that answer your question, James?
Yeah, that does. Thanks.
Hey, no problem. No problem. Let's see here. Obviously, restore defaults. That's pretty straightforward there. And I really wish this wasn't broken here so I could kind of resize it a little bit, but it's really nice once it does come back, which shouldn't be very long, to go ahead and like obviously pull this a little bit to the left to make this a little bit better view, or moving this down where you could actually see this a little bit longer here, but again, you know, it's very customizable. It's going to be hard for me to say what's going to be good for an MSP or for James. It's going to be good for another MSP. So it's going to be very unique in terms of what you guys need. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Trying to think here if let me click on this add gadgets here, see if there's anything here that we want to cover.
Can you touch on the VMware gadget? I noticed there.
Yes, so we've got a couple gadgets here that would show you host under information and VM, but this is a good example here of before I even try to create the gadget, I want to make sure that I'm actually capturing VMware information first, right? So that's one very important aspect here, and I see my Hyper-V server here, looks great, it's in green status. I'm going to double click on it and see what kind of information I'm getting, processes, whatnot, but I am not seeing some information that I like, so I do need to kind of make sure that I'm going to get what I want before I try to configure my gadget accordingly. Okay, here's some other devices here. Bear with me for a second, guys. I'm going to make sure I'm actually picking the correct device. Okay, so .2 is showing us what we need. VMware host server information on the host server as well as VMs. Okay, what's up, what's down, and so forth. So 195.2 is my target. So I'm going to go back here and create a tab. Info, okay. And I'm going to add a gadget, select the VMware information. I'll select VM and VM info. I'm going to select 195.2, I believe is what it was. 10.6.195.2. There it is. Okay. Finish, and there we go. So that's one gadget. We'll add the other one. Customer information. So pretty much the same stuff that we have in device details, but it's a nice snippet. So if you configure this, say, with more than one device, say if there's 3 or 4 that you want to monitor or very quickly see what's going on, this is the best way to do it. And it gives you all the real-time stats via the dashboard, as opposed to having to double-click on each device, click on the tab, and then obviously view the information. So,
Can you point to a vCenter server, VMware server, and they just pull up all the host information?
well, it needs to be configured first. So before we even get into the gadgets, you need to make sure that we're capturing the information first and we're able to display it. So So provided that you are capturing that level of data, then yeah, you should be able to.
So then the vCenter server would then grab the information from the other host.
That's correct.
Okay.
And Mario, when you were poking around in there, you mentioned the Hyper-V server. Are you guys capturing ACL data off of Hyper-V, or is it still only VMware?
I believe it's still only VMware at the moment, but I have to double check. So that's why I was mentioning to the other gentleman that we have to triple check to make sure that we're capturing the specific data that you want to see in the dashboard in the device details first. So I know that there's been a couple data points within vSphere that we currently don't show. I believe that might be the host CPU and memory, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I'd have to double check. Thanks for chiming in there, James. That is correct. So as you guys can see, I mean, it really depends on how you guys want to break this down. It's very customizable, and it's really how you want to view the data. So again, I guess what I'm most used to MSPs doing is setting it up on a site basis. So you're setting it up as site 1, maybe site 2, and then within each site, for instance, customer A, you configure tabs just for that one specific customer. Maybe top 10 CPU or memory or whatever it is that you want to see within that customer, and then so forth. Or you can break it down into devices, or whatever it is that you like. Maybe geographical location. Maybe it's, China, Atlanta, whatever it may be, and then you actually have devices part of that. But it's an easy way to view all the data that we would already show you in a NOC view. That's the best way that I can describe what the dashboard is really used for, and to help you, remedy issues right away. Another thing that I don't know if I did point out, but under alerts and logs, these are the current alerts in progress. So maybe when you log in the morning, you might want to have your tech take a look and maybe sort by site to see what alerts have already triggered or tripped, maybe today or yesterday. Maybe they're tied to a ticket that you actually had created. So it really depends. But I always kind of like going into the alerting process. Also, one thing I do recommend is resetting all alerts periodically. I'd say, once a week, or maybe before you start, before the work week starts, maybe on a Monday or something like that. I mean, it's a great way to baseline the whole system. That's my best advice, because it's going to reset all the alerts. It's going to clear out old, stale data, and anything that trips up from that point on is going to be real time. So, for instance, if you've got a device that's been in yellow state for the past week, and no one's acknowledged it because, it triggered a CPU alert, it's still going to show in here as, yellow, or something happened until you reset it, and then that's going to let you know that it's at least being taken care of. But sometimes it's good to reset them, because if it's still an issue, it will trigger again, and then you'll know that it's real-time data. So I do recommend that, occasionally it's a good way to baseline on your whole system by resetting all alerts.
Why do you still have a community where you get dashboard information?
And I know that right now we're working on, linking a lot more of our helpful information onto the communities, and trying to put some more robust information on there in terms of how to use it and that kind of thing. But I'm hoping that most people on the call right now have a pretty good gist of what the dashboards are, how to use them, how to configure them, and really, most importantly, how to use them to the best of your, for your advantage to make your jobs easier, to be able to see real-time data immediately within a nice NOC view. And as you can see, it shouldn't take too long to set up. I mean, it does take a little bit of time to make sure that your devices are set up correctly. But once you configure your dashboards accordingly, I mean, it should be very easy and seamless to see the data quickly. Network interface chart. I mean, it loads right away. I can see what happened. Somebody calls me and says, "Hey, what happened at 4 o'clock today on our network? We came to a complete crawl, at 11:40. Well, I can see something happened right here. Guess what? I can go right back into my devices and click on my NetFlow device and see what happened. I mean, that's pretty instantaneous. Or logged in sessions. Maybe, I'm wondering which one of my techs have actually been doing work. I don't know. Maybe I want to see who logged in at what time. That's sometimes relevant information. So, again, really depends on what you guys need to see, or what you'd like to see. So I'll open that up for any other questions, I guess, at this point. And if not, then I guess I'm going to assume that hopefully most people took something out of this. And really, my goal is to have people really utilizing the dashboards. I've seen quite a few MSPs that I've been on calls with that I just don't really feel that they understand that it can really help them quite a bit. So it does take a little bit of time to set up, but with that time, it should make things in the long run a lot better for you guys in terms of being able to see data instantaneously and remedy issues and situations on the network. Anybody have any questions? No?
If you guys have any suggestions for future webinars, just send me an email and we'll put those together.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that the audience can drive future webinars about specifics of what they'd like to cover. If we get advice on maybe one topic and it's not enough to encompass a whole webinar on, maybe we'll just start breaking them down into smaller sections. And again, we've covered a whole bunch of them already. We've done NetFlow, basic setup of the product, deploying agents and that kind of thing. But if you ever want to recircle back and cover those again, I'd be more than happy to do that if it's not clear or the videos don't make sense. But the goal is to really have you guys drive what the webinars are going to be, so that we're covering information that specifically you guys would like to see. So please chime in and let Elizabeth know if there's anything that we haven't covered or that we already have that you'd like to see, and we'd be more than happy to do that.
Is it appropriate to talk now?
Sure.
Yes?
We came from a previous MSP platform, and maybe we were spoiled, but I've been really challenged with what type and the quality of reports that are generated from the Packettrap tool. Is there ways that we are able to work or get them customized or changed in any way? Currently, they're only outputting as HTML or PDF, and they're very ugly. They don't conform to proper margins. There's no customization to them at all. I can't even choose which gadgets are being reported in the reports and things like that. I wonder what we may have to offer that way in improving that.
Okay, good question. Number one, the out-of-the-box reports that we currently have are not customizable, at least the ones that we have by default, so we cannot modify those. We do have a custom report manager, which should, again, allow you to create certain fields if you want to view them within a report that we currently don't have. But as far as customizing these existing ones, we just don't have that capability at the moment. So my best advice to you and to everybody that's on the phone call, for anything roadmap related or we currently don't do that you'd like to see, should definitely be directed to sales. They're the ones that are going to be able to best help you out with getting that implemented and hopefully giving you some type of time frame or timeline as to when to expect that type of functionality.
And also put it as an idea in the community, because the more votes we get on it, the more likely it is to be included.
It's a good question. I know that we've had it before in the past, but I just know that we don't have the option to modify these reports. If they're showing up where everything's messed up or the formatting's all off, which I really haven't heard too much about, then give the support team a call and we'll take a look at it. I mean, they should at least be formatted to a way that they're readable, viewable. All the data should be there and the basics. But if there's things in the reporting area that you think are lacking or that you really think as an MSP business we need to have, direct those to your sales associate and they should be able to help you out with that.
Great, I will. Yeah, specifically, I just noticed when it cuts to page 2 and page 3, if it's in the middle of a chart, it's very, it cuts the chart in half, and it's just not, it's just not clean and professional looking at the end, and it exports as a very simple PDF, so there's no even PDF tools that I'm able to go and clean it up myself. Export.
Yep.
So I don't know. Well, can you maybe touch, if you have a minute, would you mind touching on how we can set up any sort of custom report, or what the limitations or features are there?
Yeah, I'll do it briefly because I don't want to get too far into it, but basically it's just kind of like the custom report gadgets. It's a report manager. So if you go to the report manager here and we obviously click on add, it's going to bring up the same interface that we just saw that allows you to customize what the report's going to look like. So multiple device, you want to group by device, display data by CPU, however you want to group this by, obviously. And going through this wizard would be the best way to see if you're going to be able to accomplish showing which data points you'd like to see. is the best way that I can, kind of recommend that. But we can just kind of go through here and create a test. Maybe we want to do multiple devices and group them by, device name. That's kind of typical. Going next, we're going to have the same available fields that we would within the gadget. So it's really just what do you need to see. You want to see CPU information, memory, specifics. If you don't see certain fields in here that you would like to see, let us know, and we'll see if we can add those in a future build so that you can get that functionality. But going back to the report that you were just making, if you're trying to create this report and it's breaking the lines or the chart just looks bad and doesn't look good, just contact the support department and we'll take a look at it. And if it's really to the point where it's not feasible, then we'll see what we can do to get that changed for you.
Thank you so much. Really means a lot. Appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, we want to make sure that at least the reports are going to look good. If they don't, let us know, and at least we'll we have a heads up that something's wrong, and we'll have our development team hopefully tweak that quickly so that you guys can get those reports displayed. But the reports is very similar to the dashboards in that they're customizable in that the report manager and the custom gadget manager are pretty much the same interface. It's just customizing the data points that you'd like to see within your report or within your dashboard. And the ones that I typically like are the executive summary with traffic, which is kind of nice. I'm sure you guys have seen this, but I mean, just because we're on the reports, census office, it's nice because it gives you a nice snippet into the network, who's done what, top domains, top devices for patch management, and kind of just a nice snippet for the network for the customers to take a look and see what's been happening on their environment over a month's time or whatever it may be. So, but just off the top of my head, does anybody that's on the call now have any ideas for topics that they may want to cover in the next webinar, just while we're kind of discussing it? James, I know that you're a pretty avid user of the product. Is there anything that may be a little bit clearer or that we could discuss a little bit more in depth?
I like what you're saying about the reports. We've done some really unique stuff with SSRS, the single server reporting services. So we've done some data mining out of the back-end database because we've had some unique needs. I don't know that would be as far as you would. I don't know if you want to go that far.
No, that's great. Maybe offline I can talk to you about that and see if I can actually bring in another resource. Our DB guy, I'm definitely no DBA by any stretch of the imagination, but one of our DBAs, really nice guy. If he's free, he's kind of busy, but if he's free to join, maybe I can have Fulton in for a few minutes and go over at least how to utilize that tool to pull existing data out of the Packettrap DB. I think that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, because with the new move, we went over to a full-blown SQL server instead of Express, and now we've got a lot more power in the way we mine data out. So
yeah, that'd be great. James, could you just send me a quick email and then I'll follow up with you?
I'm on the road, so I'll probably forget. I'll try to remember when I get.
Okay, I'll try afterwards. I should remember here. I'll shoot you a quick email reminder. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Anybody? Yeah.
I'd like some information on that too. Who do I send an email to?
I'm sorry. You'd like some information on?
The same thing. If we can get some of that info as well, that'd be great.
Yeah, I currently don't do that. James does that right now, so it would be more me working with James to kind of, go make sure that I'm clear about how they're. Hello?
What's your email address to follow up?
My email address is mario.arrington@quest.com.
Okay.
And if it's Arrington is spelled with 2 R's.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
No problem. If anybody does not have any other questions about dashboards or anything specific, then I guess we'll look forward to your suggestions for the next webinar, which we'll probably do in another couple weeks. And obviously, if we get the same type of request for multiple things, then we'll most likely try to bump those up on the priority of what people want to cover. So please don't be shy about letting us know what you'd like to cover. That way we're actually discussing topics that you guys are really most concerned about. So.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Thanks so much for your time, guys, and we will talk to you soon. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
You know what, I guess you could do, I guess you could do